The quantum laboratory hummed with an electric silence, punctuated only by the rhythmic blinking of sophisticated monitoring equipment. Dr. Rain Hallbrook adjusted her glasses, her fingers hovering uncertainly over the holographic interface. Something was different today, a tension in the air that defied scientific measurement. Rain had dedicated her entire career to understanding the fundamental principles of quantum mechanics, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge with each experimental breakthrough. At 38, she was recognized as one of the most innovative quantum physicists of her generation, though her colleagues often found her more comfortable with equations than with people. The alert came unexpectedly. A series of quantum fluctuations unlike anything she had ever observed began to manifest on her primary display. The patterns were intricate, almost like a language, mathematical yet organic. Rain's breath caught in her throat as she realized this was no ordinary scientific anomaly. Dr. Hallbrook, a voice interrupted her concentration. Dr. Walter Reyes, the facility's lead administrator, stood in the doorway. His typically composed demeanor was visibly strained. "We have a situation." Behind him stood a figure that defied every conventional understanding of biology and physics. Zara stood approximately 6 feet tall, her skin a pale iridescent blue that seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence. Her eyes, large, almond-shaped, and a deep silvery gray, held an intelligence that was both alien and profoundly aware. "I am Zara," the being spoke, the words materializing in Rain's mind simultaneously with the sound waves reaching her ears. It was a form of communication that transcended traditional language, a quantum resonance that bridged biological and linguistic barriers. Rain's scientific mind raced. First contact. The words echoed in her thoughts, separate from the quantum communication happening at a deeper level. Years of theoretical preparation could never truly prepare anyone for this moment. How Rain began then stopped. The quantum fluctuations she had been tracking were now clearly synchronizing with Zara's presence. Each movement, each subtle shift created a mathematical symphony that spoke of technologies and understanding far beyond human comprehension. Zara tilted her head, a gesture that seemed both familiar and utterly foreign. "We have been observing, waiting. Your species stands at a critical threshold of understanding." Dr. Reyes cleared his throat, breaking the mesmerizing connection. Dr. Hallbrook has been selected for initial communication protocols due to her expertise in quantum mechanics and theoretical communication systems. The laboratory, a space typically dedicated to cold, objective research, now felt charged with potential. Rain noticed subtle details about Zara, the way light seemed to bend around her form, the almost imperceptible vibrations that accompanied her slightest movement. "We require a bridge," Zara continued, the communication now a blend of spoken language and quantum-level information transfer. Not just of communication, but of understanding. Rain's scientific skepticism battled with an emerging sense of wonder. Every principle she had studied, every theorem she had developed, seemed to be simultaneously challenged and validated by this being's mere existence. "Why now?" Rain asked, her voice steady despite the monumental nature of the moment. "Why this facility? Why me?" Zara's silvery eyes seemed to look through Rain, accessing layers of information beyond visual perception. Quantum potential, neurological receptivity, philosophical openness. The implications were staggering. This was not just a first contact scenario, this was a potential transformation of human understanding itself. As the day progressed, the facility transformed. Standard research protocols gave way to unprecedented interactions. Zara demonstrated communication techniques that merged mathematical principles with linguistic constructs, revealing a method of exchange that was simultaneously scientific and profoundly philosophical. Dr. Reyes watched from a distance, his role now primarily one of observation and documentation. The world outside the facility would soon need to be prepared for a revelation that would fundamentally alter human perception of reality, intelligence, and our place in the universe. Rain Hallbrook, a scientist who had spent her life studying the most minute and complex interactions of matter and energy, now found herself at the epicenter of humanity's most significant encounter. The quantum horizons had expanded, and nothing would ever be the same. The International Translation Research Center stood as a testament to human ingenuity, a sprawling complex of glass, steel, and cutting-edge technology nestled in the Swiss Alps. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, her dark eyes intense with concentration, strands of silver-streaked hair escaping from her usually immaculate bun. 3 months had passed since Zara's initial contact with Dr. Rain Hallbrook. The quantum communication breakthrough had sent shockwaves through scientific and diplomatic communities worldwide. Now, Elena faced the most complex linguistic challenge in human history, developing a comprehensive communication framework with an extraterrestrial intelligence. The quantum linguistic patterns are unlike anything we've ever encountered, Elena muttered, tracing complex geometric patterns on the holographic interface. Beside her, a team of linguists, anthropologists, and quantum communication specialists worked tirelessly, their collective expertise pushed to its absolute limits. Zara materialized in the research chamber, not physically, but as a quantum projection that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple states. The silvery gray eyes that had first captivated Rain now focused on Elena with an intensity that suggested communication was far more than mere exchange of words. Language is limitation, Zara's communication resonated, a blend of conceptual transfer and structured sound that challenged every known principle of linguistic theory. Your species perceives communication as linear. We understand it as a multidimensional fabric of interconnected meanings. Elena's background in xenolinguistics, a field that had been purely theoretical until now, came into sharp focus. She had spent her entire career preparing for moments of profound communicative challenge, but nothing could have prepared her for this. Each word is a quantum state, Elena responded, her own communication now a carefully constructed blend of verbal language and mathematical symbolism. We need to find common ground, a universal translation matrix that can bridge our fundamentally different perceptions of reality. The research team watched in awe. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a veteran semiotician, leaned closer to his monitoring equipment. The communication between Elena and Zara defied traditional recording methods. It was less an exchange of information and more a complex dance of intellectual and perceptual resonance. Zara's form shifted, revealing intricate patterns that seemed to be simultaneously a language, a mathematical equation, and a form of living art. Your species struggles with multiplicities, the alien being communicated. You seek to categorize, to define, to contain. True understanding requires embracing uncertainty. Elena recognized the profound philosophical challenge embedded in Zara's communication. Western scientific thought had long sought absolute definitions, clear boundaries, but this encounter demanded a radical reimagining of knowledge itself. Days turned into weeks. The translation team developed increasingly sophisticated quantum communication algorithms. They discovered that effective communication with Zara required not just linguistic skill, but a fundamental shift in cognitive approach. We are developing what we call quantum linguistic bridges, Elena explained during a global conference broadcast. Her presentation showed complex diagrams that looked more like abstract art than scientific notation. Traditional translation assumes a one-to-one correspondence between linguistic elements. Our work with the extraterrestrial representative demonstrates that communication is a dynamic, multidimensional process. Zara's presence in the research center was both a scientific marvel and a philosophical challenge. The alien being seemed to exist in a state of perpetual becoming, neither fully here nor there, communicating through a method that was simultaneously a language, a mathematical theorem, and a form of living consciousness. Personal tensions emerged within the research team. Some scientists, like the brilliant but traditionally minded Dr. Klaus Werner, struggled to accept methodologies that challenged their entire understanding of communication and knowledge. This is not science, Werner argued during a heated team meeting. This is mysticism dressed in technological language. Alina's response was measured but firm. Science has always been about expanding our understanding, about challenging our existing paradigms. What we're experiencing is nothing less than a fundamental transformation of human knowledge. As the weeks progressed, breakthrough after breakthrough emerged. They weren't just developing a method of communication, they were reimagining the very nature of understanding itself. Zara's final communication of the research phase was both a challenge and an invitation. Your species stands at the threshold, the quantum projection conveyed. Will you choose limitation or possibility? Alina looked at her team, a diverse group of scientists who had become more than colleagues, who had become pioneers of a new form of human understanding. The resonant frequencies of a new era of communication were beginning to emerge. The Arctic Research Station gleamed like a technological oasis against the stark white landscape. Massive geodesic domes rose from the permafrost, their surfaces embedded with adaptive camouflage technology that allowed them to blend seamlessly with the surrounding environment. Dr. Marcus Tanaka stood at the primary observation window, his breath creating a momentary fog against the reinforced glass. A xenobiologist with a reputation for unconventional thinking, Marcus had been selected for this unprecedented joint research expedition for his ability to approach biological systems with radical openness. The mission: to conduct the first comprehensive biological and ecological comparative study between human and extraterrestrial life systems. Zara's presence transformed the research station into something beyond a scientific facility. The alien being moved between physical and quantum states with an ease that continued to challenge every fundamental understanding of biology and physics. Ecosystem is not a collection, Zara communicated, the message arriving simultaneously as a linguistic construct and a complex sensory experience. It is a living network of interconnected resonances. Marcus watched as holographic displays came to life, revealing intricate biological systems that seemed to defy the traditional taxonomic classifications he had studied his entire career. What Zara was showing was less a description and more a living map of ecological interdependence. Dr. Lucia Reyes, a brilliant ecological systems analyst, approached Marcus. Her dark eyes reflected both excitement and a hint of professional trepidation. "The biological data we're receiving is revolutionary," she whispered. "It's like everything we know about life systems is just the tip of an impossibly complex iceberg." The research team represented a carefully selected group of specialists from various disciplines. Dr. Nikolai Volkov, a microbiologist with decades of experience, carefully collected quantum-encoded biological samples. Alongside him, Dr. Aisha Karim, a specialist in extreme environment adaptation, analyzed data that seemed to rewrite the very definition of life. Zara began to demonstrate something unprecedented. Using a communication method that was part holographic projection, part quantum entanglement, the alien being showed how biological systems could be understood as dynamic, fluid networks rather than fixed, discrete entities. "Your understanding of life is too linear," Zara communicated. The holographic display transformed, showing biological systems that seemed to breathe, shift, and interact in ways that defied conventional scientific understanding. Life is not a state. It is a continuous process of becoming. Marcus found himself challenged at the most fundamental level of his scientific understanding. As a xenobiologist, he had always been prepared for the possibility of alternative life forms. But this was beyond anything he could have imagined. The Arctic environment became a critical point of investigation. Zara demonstrated how the seemingly harsh landscape was actually a complex, interconnected system of energy transfer and adaptive resilience. Ice, typically viewed as a static element, was revealed to be a dynamic, living process of constant transformation. Observe, Zara communicated, and the research station's main display transformed. What appeared to be a simple ice formation was now revealed as a complex network of energy exchanges, microbial interactions, and quantum-level communications. Dr. Volkov's hands trembled slightly as he processed the data. "This changes everything we know about biological systems," he muttered. "It's not just about individual organisms, it's about the entire network of interactions." As days turned into weeks, the research team developed new methodological approaches. Traditional scientific boundaries began to dissolve. Ecology, quantum physics, biology, and communication theory merged into a new hybrid form of scientific investigation. Marcus found himself at the center of a profound transformation. The expedition was no longer just a scientific mission. It was a fundamental reimagining of life itself. During one particularly intense research session, Zara communicated a concept that would become pivotal to their understanding. Life is not about survival, the alien being conveyed. It is about continuous adaptation, about maintaining harmonic resonance with surrounding systems. The implications were staggering. It suggested a view of life that was simultaneously more holistic and more dynamic than any existing scientific paradigm. As the Arctic sun cast its ethereal light across the research station, Marcus realized they were not just studying an extraterrestrial life form. They were witnessing the emergence of an entirely new scientific worldview. Zara's final communication of the expedition was both a summary and an invitation. "You are beginning to see," the message resonated, "but seeing is only the first step of understanding." The global quantum research complex rose like a crystalline monument to human ingenuity, its spiral architecture defying traditional design principles. Orbital research modules extended from the main structure, creating a hybrid terrestrial space research environment that symbolized humanity's expanding horizons. Dr. Kira Novick stood at the intersection of multiple holographic displays, her fingers dancing across quantum entanglement interfaces that seemed to breathe with living information. At 42, she was the world's foremost expert in quantum communication and temporal dynamics, a field that had transformed dramatically since the first contact with Zara. Temporal perception is not linear, Zara's quantum projection materialized, occupying a space that was simultaneously physical and conceptual. Time is a fabric of interconnected possibilities, not a straight path. The research team watched in collective awe. They were no longer simply scientists, they were pioneers of a new understanding of reality itself. Dr. Ibrahim Hassan, a quantum mechanics specialist, leaned forward, his eyes reflecting both excitement and profound intellectual challenge. Kira had spent years developing theories about quantum entanglement and communication across seemingly impossible barriers. Now, those theories were being tested in ways she could never have imagined during her years of academic research. The current project focused on developing a communication and transportation technology that could bridge not just spatial distances, but temporal and dimensional variations. Early experiments had revealed that Zara's species understood movement and communication as a fluid, multidimensional process. Your technology relies on force, Zara communicated, the message arriving as a complex sensory experience that was part language, part mathematical equation. Our approach is about resonance and harmonic alignment. To demonstrate, Zara created a quantum projection that showed how their technology manipulated space-time. It was less about moving through space and more about realigning fundamental vibrational frequencies. The holographic display revealed intricate patterns that looked like living, breathing mathematical equations. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a quantum engineering specialist, whispered to her colleague, "It's like they don't travel through space, they become the space itself." The research complex had become a crucible of innovation. Each breakthrough challenged fundamental understanding of physics, communication, and the nature of existence itself. The team worked with a combination of human technological expertise and the revolutionary insights provided by Zara. A breakthrough came unexpectedly. By combining human quantum computing principles with the alien approach to dimensional communication, they developed a prototype communication device that could transmit information across what previously would have been considered impossible distances and dimensional barriers. "This is more than technology," Kira explained during a global conference broadcast. "We're developing a new understanding of communication itself. It's not about sending information, it's about creating harmonic resonances that transcend traditional limitations." The orbital research modules became testing grounds for these revolutionary technologies. Experiments showed that the new communication systems could maintain coherence across unprecedented distances with minimal signal degradation. But challenges remained. The technological exchange was not just about hardware or software, it was a profound philosophical and cognitive negotiation. Human technological thinking, with its focus on discrete systems and clear boundaries, was fundamentally different from Zara's approach. During one critical research session, Zara communicated a profound insight. Technology is not a tool, the alien being conveyed. It is an extension of consciousness, a method of understanding and interacting with the fundamental fabric of existence. Kira realized they were doing more than developing new technologies. They were reimagining the very concept of technological innovation. The most significant breakthrough came unexpectedly. The team discovered that the communication technology they were developing could potentially create bridges not just between different locations, but between different states of consciousness and understanding. Dr. Hassan's hands trembled as he reviewed the data. "We're not just communicating," he said softly. "We're learning to perceive reality in an entirely new way." As the orbital research modules captured data that would have been considered impossible just months earlier, Zara's final communication of the research phase hung in the air, part challenge, part invitation. "You are beginning to see beyond your current limitations," the message resonated. "But seeing is only the first step of true understanding." The global quantum research complex continued to pulse with potential, a beacon of humanity's evolving consciousness. The World Convergence Summit represented humanity's most significant gathering in recorded history. Representatives from every scientific discipline, every continent, and now, for the first time from beyond Earth, assembled in a specially constructed global conference center that seemed to pulse with potential. Zara stood at the center of the main hall, no longer simply an alien representative, but a bridge between civilizations. The quantum communication technologies developed over the past year had transformed not just scientific understanding, but the very fabric of human perception. Dr. Rain Hallbrook, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Dr. Marcus Tanaka, and Dr. Kira Novik sat together, the core team that had been at the forefront of humanity's most transformative encounter. They were no longer just individual scientists, but collective architects of a new understanding. "We stand at a threshold," Zara communicated, the message resonating through the hall in a way that transcended traditional language. Not of conquest, not of competition, but of mutual understanding. The summit was more than a diplomatic meeting. It was a celebration of a fundamental transformation of human consciousness. The technologies and communication frameworks developed through their collaboration had opened possibilities that previous generations could never have imagined. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, presenting the linguistic breakthroughs that had made deep cross-species communication possible. The holographic displays showed how language could now be understood as a living, dynamic system of interconnected meanings, far beyond the linear communication models of the past. Dr. Marcus Tanaka followed, revealing the ecological insights gained from their collaborative research. The presentations showed how understanding life as a dynamic, interconnected network could revolutionize everything from environmental conservation to medical treatment. Dr. Kira Novik's presentation demonstrated the quantum communication technologies that could now bridge not just spatial distances, but fundamentally different states of consciousness and understanding. The final presentation came from Dr. Rain Hallbrook, who had first established contact. Her talk focused on the philosophical implications of their discoveries, how the encounter with Zara had fundamentally transformed human understanding of existence itself. "We are not separate," Rain explained, her voice steady and filled with wonder. "We are part of a larger, more complex system of interconnected possibilities." Zara's presence in the hall was more than physical. It was a living demonstration of the principles they had discovered. The alien being existed simultaneously as a quantum projection, a communication interface, and a conscious entity that defied traditional understanding. The summit was not an endpoint, but a beginning. Collaborative research teams were already being formed. Joint human-alien research initiatives would explore everything from quantum communication to ecological restoration, from medical breakthroughs to philosophical understanding. As the day progressed, it became clear that this was more than a diplomatic meeting. It was a fundamental reimagining of what it meant to be intelligent, to be alive, to be part of a larger universal system. Zara's final communication of the summit captured the essence of their journey. "Understanding is not about knowing," the message resonated. "It is about continuous exploration, about maintaining an openness to possibility." In the conference hall, scientists, diplomats, and representatives from around the world and now from beyond stood united. The boundaries that had once seemed insurmountable, between species, between disciplines, between ways of understanding, were dissolving. As the sun set outside, casting a golden light through the conference center's quantum-adaptive windows, a new era of human understanding began to unfold. The infinite horizons of possibility stretched out before them, not as a distant dream, but as a living, breathing reality. Epilogue. Years later, the encounter with Zara would be remembered not as a moment of first contact, but as the beginning of humanity's true awakening. The collaborative technologies, the new understanding of communication, the radical reimagining of life and consciousness, these would become the foundation of a new chapter in human evolution. And at the center of it all, a simple truth remained: understanding begins with openness, with the willingness to see beyond our current limitations, with the courage to embrace the infinite possibilities that exist just beyond our current perception. So the end.